The Rafah corridor, a lifeline under siege. Israeli forces have tightened their grip on the Rafah corridor, a narrow strip of land connecting Gaza to Egypt, as part of their ongoing military operation. The move comes amidst escalating tensions in the region following a surge in violence. The corridor, the only passage to the outside world for many Palestinians in Gaza, has become a focal point in the conflict. With Israel's increased military presence, movement in and out of Gaza has come to a standstill, raising concerns about a humanitarian crisis. The Rafah border crossing, usually bustling with traders and families, now resembles a ghost town. Only ambulances carrying the wounded dare to cross, a grim reminder of the ongoing conflict. The situation is particularly dire for those seeking medical treatment outside Gaza, as the closure effectively seals off their access to essential healthcare. "We are trapped," laments a Palestinian woman, waiting anxiously for news of her sick child on the other side. "The corridor is our only lifeline, and now it's closed." Her words reflect the desperation and frustration of countless Gazans who find themselves caught in the crossfire. With supplies dwindling and movement restricted, the humanitarian situation in Gaza is deteriorating rapidly. International aid organizations are struggling to provide assistance, hampered by the volatile security situation and the limited access imposed by the ongoing conflict. The closure of the Rafah corridor has exacerbated an already precarious situation, turning Gaza into an open-air prison for its inhabitants. Strategic significance, a choke point in the Levant. The Rafah corridor, a narrow strip of land barely 14 kilometers long, holds immense strategic significance. It serves as the Gaza Strip's sole access point to the outside world, making it a critical lifeline for its 2 million inhabitants. Control over Rafah equates to control over Gaza's fate, a reality keenly understood by Israel, Egypt, and the Palestinian Authority. For Israel, Rafah represents a security vulnerability, a potential conduit for weapons smuggling and militant infiltration. The Israeli government argues that its control over the corridor is crucial to prevent Hamas, the militant group controlling Gaza, from acquiring arms and launching attacks against its citizens. Egypt too has a vested interest in securing its border with Gaza. Cairo views Hamas as an extension of the Muslim Brotherhood, a group it considers a threat to its own stability. The Rafah crossing provides a rare point of contact between Egypt and Gaza, allowing Cairo to exert some influence over events in the Strip. The Palestinian Authority, meanwhile, sees control over Rafah as integral to its own legitimacy. The presence of Hamas in Gaza and its control over the border crossing undermines the Palestinian Authority's claim to be the sole legitimate representative of the Palestinian people. The struggle for control over the Rafah corridor thus reflects the complex geopolitical dynamics at play in the region. It is a microcosm of the broader Israeli-Palestinian conflict, highlighting the competing interests and mistrust that have plagued the region for decades. Geopolitical tremors, regional and international implications. Israel's tightening grip on the Rafah corridor sends ripples far beyond the immediate vicinity of Gaza. The move has ignited regional tensions, with Arab nations expressing condemnation and concern. The Arab League has called for an emergency meeting, while Turkey, a vocal critic of Israel's policies, has denounced the action as a violation of international law. The international community, too, has voiced apprehension over the escalating situation. The United Nations has urged restraint and called for a peaceful resolution, emphasizing the dire humanitarian consequences of the blockade. The European Union, a major donor to the Palestinian Authority, has expressed its concern over the impact on the already fragile peace process. The closure of the Rafah crossing will only exacerbate the suffering of the Palestinian people, warned a UN spokesperson, highlighting the potential for a humanitarian crisis. The international community fears that the already volatile situation could spiral out of control, igniting a wider conflict with unpredictable consequences. The United States, a staunch ally of Israel, has found itself in a delicate position. While Washington has traditionally supported Israel's right to self-defense, it has also urged restraint and a return to negotiations. The Biden administration faces the challenge of balancing its support for Israel with the need to prevent further escalation and address the growing humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Section 4, Voices from the Ground, Living with Uncertainty. Amidst the geopolitical maneuvering and diplomatic pronouncements, it is the ordinary people of Gaza who bear the brunt of the crisis. Trapped in an open-air prison, they face dwindling supplies, restricted movement, and the constant fear of violence. Their voices, often drowned out by the clamor of international politics, offer a poignant glimpse into the human cost of the conflict. "We are tired of being pawns in a game we don't understand," laments a shopkeeper in Gaza City, his shelves nearly empty. "All we want is to live in peace and dignity." His words resonate with many Gazans who feel trapped in a cycle of violence and despair. For mothers like Fatima, the closure of the Rafah crossing means an agonizing wait for news of her son, stranded on the Egyptian side. "He went to study medicine to build a better future," she says, her voice choked with emotion. "Now, I don't even know when I'll see him again." The stories of ordinary Gazans paint a stark picture of resilience and despair. Despite facing immense hardship, they continue to hope for a better future, a future where the Rafah corridor is a gateway to opportunity, not a symbol of their confinement. Section 5, The Road Ahead, Possible Scenarios and Uncertain Futures. As the dust settles on Israel's latest military operation, the future of the Rafah corridor and indeed of Gaza itself hangs precariously in the balance. Several scenarios could unfold, each with its own set of implications for the region and the wider world. One possibility is a prolonged stalemate, with Israel maintaining its control over the corridor while Hamas remains entrenched in Gaza. This scenario would likely lead to a continuation of the status quo, with periodic flare-ups of violence and a deepening humanitarian crisis in the Strip. Another possibility is a negotiated settlement, perhaps brokered by Egypt or other regional actors, that would see the Rafah crossing reopened under a new management structure. Such an agreement would require significant concessions from all sides and would be difficult to achieve given the deep mistrust that exists. A third, more ominous scenario is a full-scale military confrontation between Israel and Hamas. This could be triggered by a miscalculation on either side or by a deliberate escalation by one of the parties. Such a conflict would be devastating for both Gaza and Israel and could draw in other regional actors with unpredictable consequences. The road ahead for Gaza and the Rafah corridor remains shrouded in uncertainty. The choices made by the key actors in the coming days and weeks will determine whether the region edges closer to peace or plunges deeper into conflict.